You're saying the same shit that he said. I want to change my life. How do we differentiate ourselves? Life is precious. We have one life. I want to change my life. I want to change my financial fortune. Life is precious. What I wanted you to take from that also is the energy with which people ultimately communicate, because it can carry you so much and it can help people otherwise overlook ultimately other things that other people might find to be problematic, okay? And the frame, if we bring it back now to ultimately the actual foundations of selling, is confidence in selling. And when you're confident in selling, the big part that everyone contains within them, whether, for example, they themselves aren't passionate enough, is that we make an assumption that a passionate person typically tends to be pretty competent at the work that they do. So we associate by proxy passion with professionalism, because we do. Because you think, wow, they're very passionate about what they do, ergo, they must be pretty damn good at it. Why? Because all of the other guys or other gals that I spoke to were just uninspired, disengaged. I didn't get that sense of surety or safety that I got through working with that person, okay? And what you need to think about when you go into any type of sales environment, and again, when I talk about sales environments, that is the call, that is the social, that is the email that you send out, okay? Because you can communicate emotion through emails. So emotions are a vehicle, they are. They're a vehicle that will carry you, and it overlays or underlays a lot of the other frameworks that people talk about building on top of it. We often are involved in, and this is the thing, commoditized services, okay? So what do I mean by commoditized services? Unless you are selling something that is truly unique, it is difficult for a buyer outside in to distinguish your service from a similar person offering a similar service. That's just the reality of it. Unless you sell something truly unique, the reality is that that person is getting pitched by multiple people offering similar sounding services all the time. All the time. Great, so you have a yacht, or you have a boat, or a nursery, or clothing, or yeah. So you're seeing a little bit of a transition, because we're going from different, ultimately, sales avatars. You've got the emotional buyer, and you've also got the skeptical buyer. Okay? So the skeptical buyer will be like, yeah, okay, great. You're saying the same thing that you're saying. Put your hand up if you've watched 8 Mile, or you've heard of it. Yeah, cool, great. There's an iconic line so for those of you who haven't watched it, it follows the life of Eminem, Slim Shady, Marshall Mathers. 8 Mile is, I think, in Detroit. It's an area, and the movie follows his journey. And surprise, surprise, yet again, it's the hero's journey. The building's romance. It's the same journey that Neo goes on, the Karate Kid goes on, where he needs to step into his own shoes and he can be who he's meant to be. And as part of that, he has to go through some hardship. And this is what happens in that story. And at the end, he gets involved in rap battles. And in the second battle, he says to the guy, pay attention, meathead. You're saying the same shit that he said, which is the skeptical buyer, okay? The skeptical buyer says, great, you're selling me what the last guy sold me. You're cheaper, you're faster, you're better. Great, so that's exactly what the other guy said, Frank. Do you understand what I'm saying, okay? So for the vast majority of us, we will be in commoditized services where you are ultimately selling something to someone else who has been sold something similar before. And it's really powerful to understand that, because then we need to figure out what's our differentiation. Well, how do we differentiate ourselves? If I'm up against 10 different people selling basically the same service, what can I do to differentiate myself? So we covered one of them. What was the one that we covered? If anyone wants to put their hand up, you can just shout it out. Emotion, right? So emotion as an instrument of differentiation, right? We know that to be true, because if you're competing against other Brits most of us ain't that emotional, to be honest with you, or passionate. And it's a great way to distinguish yourself easily, right? Passion, okay? And that's why now it begins to loop into sales frameworks. The amount of retail stores that I've gone into, if people say, yeah, sure, what can I do for you? Yeah, okay, great, all right, fine. Yeah, just over there, the rack's over there. Great, what do you want? Chips, cool, all right, great. A different version of it. Morning, how you doing? Chips, you look like you're a chip guy. Okay, brilliant. 2 sachets of ketchup? Yeah, I know you like your ketchup, George, don't you? You see what I mean? You see the difference? You're like, man, I don't even like chips. I just go in there to talk to this guy, Frank. He just cracks me up every morning. But like, the chips ain't even that great. The ketchup's a bit naff, but fucking hell, George, fucking hell. Do you see where I'm going with this, guys? So interestingly, emotion can help with the skeptical buyer, okay? And we're coming up to a break in a couple of minutes. And what we will begin to go through is a little bit more about the different, ultimately, buying avatars, okay? So the emotion, and it's really important to understand the different avatars that exist. So when I talk about avatars, just for clarity, you're going to deal with people that have different personality profiles. Because people have different buying mechanisms or models of buying, like we have models of communication. For those of you who've got kids, some things will work with one kid, other things will work with others, okay? Some person needs to be sold on excitement, someone else will whip out a spreadsheet and run a cost-benefit analysis in their head, okay? So buying avatars is quite important. So we've covered the emotional buyer, okay? Now let's talk a little bit about the skeptical buyer, okay? So the skeptical buyer is the spreadsheet person, okay? The spreadsheet person is the person who will want to understand the economic value of what it is that you're going to get, okay? So what we must do when we think about ultimately sales is being, first of all, consciously aware that different buying avatars exist. So you've got the emotional avatar, you've got the skeptical avatar, you've got the technical avatar. So the emotional buyer is, hey, I just want someone I can trust. And if I can trust this person, the rest are kind of all details. The skeptical buyer is, yeah, you know what, I got burnt last time, so I'm not sure. The last time I tried something like this, it went a bit bad. Or, yeah, I don't know, I'm a bit, I don't really know much about you. The technical buyer, so what certificates do you have? How long have you been in business? Where are your case studies? Can I speak to a customer that you've worked with before? The rational buyer would be, okay, well, let me compare this against that. Let me compare these rugs against maybe those rugs. Let me think about what this means for my life. The value-based buyer, which is my return on investment. So I'm going to give you X. How much money am I going to make or save? Okay, as a consequence of it. So these are some of the things that we will be covering when we come back. It's 10:42. I'll let you off, so to speak, a little bit early. We will continue back at 11. So yeah, guys, head off, have a break, relax. I'll be here hanging out. But what we'll do then, Geeta, is at some point during the day today, I'm going to make sure you get up and you can speak your story, because I'm looking forward to hearing more about that. Okay, so that's what we'll do. We're going to kick off in 2 minutes. Selling. And then this afternoon, we're going to be very tactical. We're going to talk tactics. Okay? So that's probably also the session where there'll be a lot of scribbling things down, because that will be kind of a whistle-stop tour about how to generate leads in many, many different ways. So look, we spoke about the, of course, emotional avatar, the passionate part. I do hope that, hey, look at that. God, I need his shades. I think I might just bring some shades and just talk to you from the stage with glasses on. Lose credibility instantly. He looks good. So yeah, look, we spoke about the emotional avatar, of course, and then we spoke a little bit about the skeptical avatar, and then we've got technical, we've got value, we've got rational. So look, once you become aware of the different types of buyers, you can then begin to have that all bleed into all aspects of what you do from a sales perspective, okay? Because sales and lead generation are very, very neatly combined. So give me some insights, guys, about let's imagine you've got an emotional buyer in front of you. What do we do with an emotional buyer? If someone comes in, what is it that you think that you would do? So there's a book that you should also all read, which is really useful. It's a book actually related to relationships, and it's called, everyone might have heard of a book called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. It's quite a famous relationship book, and the new version of it is The 5 Love Languages, which is basically how people develop different attachment styles. And what often happens, so just as an example, the 5 love languages people talk about, there's the language of, and this is a common problem or issue that exists in relationships that become unhappy over time, because people have different love languages and they're unaware of it. So a good example is a lot of people demonstrate love languages through, for example, acts of service. So acts of service are, honey or babe, I work all day and night to make sure that we've got food on the table, okay? It's a very common, ultimately, love language for the diaspora, which is ethnic minorities that have moved to another country in order to give the family that they have or will have a better life, okay? So that's acts of service. Another one is gifts. Babe, I buy you chocolates, I buy you roses, I buy you these holidays, but there's still a problem in the relationship, okay? The other one is time, quality time. I don't want the chocolates, I just want to spend time with you. All of that is nice, but I want to spend time with you, okay? And so forth. And what will often happen is that you can, and this is interesting, you can determine what your love language is and what therefore your buying psychology is based upon how you communicate, because we are all but mirrors in our own lives, okay? We all go out seeking reflections of ourselves ultimately, okay? Meaning that you can determine from the way that people communicate the type of language or the type of ultimately attachment style that they have. So Fatima, I asked her about emotional buying, and she went into technical, which reflects how she buys, even if it's subconsciously. Now, everyone has more than one love language, don't get me wrong. Everyone has more than one buying style, right? People don't purely buy based upon emotion. It's nonsensical. They don't say, okay, you're great. Doesn't matter what the price is, doesn't matter what anything is, I'm just gonna buy, of course. But you all, if you're not familiar with this rule of the 80-20 rule, that 20% of your, of course, efforts will generate 80% of your results, which means that people have biases, and their decision-making will often fall within primarily 2 buckets. So when we think about buyers, and when we think about who we're pitching to, it's really important to hear the subtext behind how they're communicating, because then you can understand their buying type, okay? From the way that they communicate, you can begin to put them into buckets. And that also often talks about how people talk about their business. Oh, you know, it's just been really difficult. It's been a hard year, you know, sales are a bit down and I'm just fit. Emotional buyer, right? Oh, it's just a bit difficult. So one of the things that once you become aware of the buying avatars is then to become attuned to how that translates into language. Because then you adjust to the person who's in front of you, right? So everyone throughout their work is signaling. I'm sending signals, smoke signs, of what it is that I need, because I speak about the things that I think you need to hear, but actually what I'm telling you underneath it is what 12-year-old me wants. So if someone comes and starts talking about, and this is where you can tell me, I'm going to give you some example pitches, example ways I might communicate my business, and you can tell me what bucket that I fall into. Yeah, guys, so I went to a sales training recently, and I thought it was a bloody waste of time, to be honest with you, so I'm a bit skeptical buyer. So I'm a little bit unsure. So I'm not. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Skeptical buyer. Right. Okay. Cool. So Deepak, what sales training frameworks are you going to be running me through today? I'm really interested in the Sandler sales training method, and yeah, I'm quite keen on.
Technical.
What did you say?
Technical.
That's okay. So put your hand up if you think it's technical, or put your hand up if you think it's value. Okay. It is technical because I'm talking about frameworks. So I'm talking about frameworks. You've got to highlight the frameworks within your business. Does that make sense? So why this becomes important? Yeah, go ahead. No, say.
Would you say, and this is like relating to that, would it be related to keywords?
Yeah. Keywords. It's keywords. People signal through language, body language, and language, how they communicate, right? And what often happens is that we mix things and we don't hear what they're really saying. It's like, he was talking about, the methodology and stuff, and I was telling him about how passionate, how good a job we're going to do. And I don't know, just didn't, like, yeah, but you didn't really hear what he was asking. Okay? People often communicate in the manner with which they'd like to get communication back, right? That's what we're talking about, okay? The whole thing is that all that guy understands is fists. That's his language. That doesn't mean you go and smack a guy around the head, but you learn from how people communicate, okay? So what about, so Deepak, it's $3.99 for the day, okay. Could you just kind of walk me through what you think that package would include? What kind of buy is that? Yeah, value is quite an easy one, right? Like monetarily driven, okay? And then the final one might be, so I've been toying with sales training. I'm just trying to understand if that's maybe the best thing for my business right now. So I just thought I'd come and just hear what it is you have to offer. So what is that one? Yeah, cool. So once you've understood the different buying personas and you understand their language, you need to develop in your literature language to reply to them with. And what you'll often find is you go through the hoops, and this relates to sales literature, to website materials, to case studies, to emails, to about us pages, this pages. What you'll often discover is that you're weak somewhere. Does that make sense? That we all know where we're really strong, and then you might look at it and think, oh, fuck it. Actually, I'm not covering this base off. And I can guarantee you, sure as shit, you're going to meet these different types of buyers. And do we agree or disagree that it is sensible to be prepared for all buyers? Yes. Okay? So looking at that, what I'd like to hear from a couple of people now is, go ahead. Emotional buyers are the ones that buy based upon passion and emotion and feeling safe, feeling looked after, okay? So as you look at that, who wants to put their hand on, who's had an aha moment thinking, wow, I haven't built literature or material to service XYZ buyer? Is there one within there that anyone's thinking, yeah, go ahead, Geeta, right? Yeah, go ahead. Which one are you thinking that, I need to do something about that? Emotional. Okay. What made you come to that realization? What are you thinking?
It's just understanding the human and the needs.
Okay. Yeah, understanding humans, understanding their needs. Great. So for Geeta, the emotional part is where she feels she's going to put some time into to develop out. Who else has got an area that they think, okay, I need to go away and do some work? All of them. Good. No, good. Guys, in sales, humility and in relationships is one of the most attractive traits. No one likes to show off. Everyone likes work hard and be humble, right? That's a British expression that I do love. That's one of the ones I do love. Hustle in silence, let success be the noise, right? Work hard, be humble. So great, amazing, guys. Because vulnerability is a big part of how we connect with humans. Okay? So great. So we've gotten all of them. I'll take 2 more people. Is there anything else that comes to mind you think, right, I need to go away and build some stuff in this space? All of it? Yeah, good. So again, as I said, and I want you to think about this, that you need to cater for every type of buyer. Because if you don't, you're going to lose people. You will lose people. Especially if, see it? You lose a lot of people. Especially, remember, also, you're going to often, buying often happens in not 1, but when you've got 2, what have you got? 11. That's good. My is not really. You have a. It's like a fruit. It's something you eat, but it's different. You have pairs. Buying often happens in pairs.